Yeah.
I'm mad they don't use the styrofoam cups.
Okay.
Because it'll taste a lot better.
We're live.
That is the plastic. Because it just waters down so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yay, we're live. All right, we're about this thing started. Make sure I'm in the middle. Yes,
I think
I
so.
am. Okay, cool. All right, we're ready. Do you want to see if we can move the a little closer to see us? The table? No? Okay.
Do I need to move closer?
No, you're fine.
Because everybody's in the shot. You can see
And I'm in all
everyone.
black, so I kind of can't
Right. Sorry, man.
see my head. But that's about it.
Right.
That's funny. Okay, let's go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. What up, what up, what up?
What's good, Kansas City? It's your hype home girl, #SwagEasy.
And it's DJ Missy E.
And we are finally back for the Nite Hype Show. It's a podcast. And it's been a year. Jesus.
It's been a year.
Already. 1/3 into it, right?
Ain't even 6 months.
It's not.
Ain't even half a year.
But as always, we're super excited because we do have a guest in the building with us.
We
today.
do.
So, certifiable Black Girl Magic, Miss Natasha Rhea and El Scari. I got it right.
We did that.
Okay, so
welcome to the show. We've been trying to get you on since like last season.
I know.
Yes.
I'm so excited to be here.
she is a working mama for show. Certified business, writing, life coach, poet, author. Oh my God, I can't wait to get into this book, y'all. It's already moved my soul. And also hostess.
Yes.
How did you begin this journey?
Gallery owner too. I also have an art gallery.
Art gallery.
Yes.
Man.
So all things are. How did you kind of find like your passion in life? You feel?
That's a good question. Well, I was really raised in a family that created space for me to be creative and quirky, and they fed my interests.
Yeah.
So I always loved writing, and my mother would buy me pens and pencils and stationery, and I would want a journal. She'd buy me a journal. So just the little things that I loved books. I was always reading. We had a print-rich environment. I didn't care much for the television, but I loved singing commercials. So I would come in, and that's when commercials were like really
good,
singing,
right?
And I would sing the commercials, and then I would be like, I'm over it, and I would go back and play and create. And so I think that, along with some really positive educators along the way. Not all of them, but just at the right
time.
Those
ones that made that mark.
That always made a difference and just encouraged my voice and talent as a writer. And so, as well as I spent a lot of time honing my craft before I was 18. So a lot of studying, and I was a ferocious reader. I was always trying to make sure I was reading like 50 books, Awesome. So that also was a part of it. And I'm glad that I did it then, because, once you become an adult, when I meet adults who read a lot, I'm like, wow, how do you fit it in?
How do you have time?
Like, seriously, it is so amazing.
It's so different.
Still read. Yeah. And I think it's just being in this digital society, there's nothing like touching the book.
Yeah.
And so it's like everything is so accessible digitally that you kind of lose that touch of wanting to actually read a book. So
And what's so interesting about that is that I do listen to some audiobooks, but it's difficult for me to listen and do other things because I still treat it like I'm reading it. So I'll find myself kind of just staring off like, oh yeah.
Yeah, listening.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh.
Lost in the words. And it's I'm supposed to be folding.
Yes, exactly. So when I have to be very careful when I'm driving and listening to books, because I really do get caught up in the imagery and the voice. So yeah.
That's beautiful. Well, speaking of books, you have 5 books right now, correct?
I have 5 books and
working
3
on the 6th
CDs, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah. And working on the 6th one. I've been working on that one for quite a long time. But it needed that much time to write itself. So I think it's getting close.
How long does it take for you to normally have a book finished and ready to be published? How long does it take you to write?
I've approached all my books very differently, and so I like to say that this is the only book that I wrote. I think the other books have written themselves. If that makes sense, it's
Yeah,
like,
it does.
but this one, I was very purposeful, and from start to finish, I wrote the book in about 4 months,
Awesome.
which is really dumb. I don't recommend that.
Okay, that was too soon.
No, it was just it was all encompassing.
Right,
it was
that's
like
what you-
it was
I'm
like
sure
my
you
my
like to
spring
tone
lover.
down
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I had all these other things happening in life, but I was like, when it's time to birth a creative project, I'm sure like when you all thought about this, it probably didn't come at a convenient time.
Girl.
Y'all are probably like, oh my gosh, I've got this going on, but you had that urge.
Speak on the girl.
You had that urge, and
Speak
so
on
that's
the
how the
girl.
creative urge
Yeah.
is that it comes like birthing.
Yeah.
If you've ever had a baby or if you've, a physical baby, but that's how creative birth happens. It's like, you're like, I gotta do all this stuff, but you hear it and it just is like,
and it takes over you.
yes,
right?
yes. And so that's what
Yeah.
this book did. It was really after a conversation. Well, it's really how I raised my son, but after his freshman year of college, he just sat me down and he was like, listen, you need to write a book. I had no idea all these men were out here clueless in the world. And he was like, I just hear men say things and I'm like, who raised you?
Yeah.
And he was like, Mom, he's like, I knew we were a little ahead of the time, but dang.
Okay, right. So it's called Mama Sutra.
Yes.
And it's love and love making advice to my son. And who check?
Yes, that's interesting.
When I say our men, our black men for sure need just something like this, even as a conversation starter, but like I can just say I was one of the I guess you could say topics or chapters, it was how big is your dick. So
yeah.
I mean, it's very informative.
Yeah.
It's easy to read. And it just makes you think, right? And I don't think a lot of our black men are raised, let alone in so many other things, but definitely not when it comes to sex.
Right. So like let's talk about that a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
as black women, we teach our girls everything and then we teach them how to avoid sex.
Yeah.
So we actually teach our girls how to avoid pleasure.
Yeah.
And then we teach our boys, have your pleasure, but don't tell me about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so from a birthing point, we have sent very mixed signals to both our boys and our girls. And so when they unite in heterosexual harmony, it's often a cacophony, and it doesn't really go together outside of what they are feeling intuitively.
Yeah.
But they're going on that and not what they've been taught how
just
to.
those urges.
Yeah,
those primitive urges.
Right,
Yeah.
which can be hurtful to another person because they are coming from their lived experience and the things that they've been told. So I think, also for me, coming from a non-Christian perspective, and having counseled with many people who are Christian, they have also gotten this whole other piece of education.
Yes.
And that education is don't talk about sex, don't have sex, but miraculously, when you get married, you can do whatever you want in your marriage bed. And so that is like, so people
like you know what you're doing.
Yeah, or like you can just turn off the guilt.
Yeah.
It's like, how do I turn off the guilt and the shame and the avoidance? So, okay, I've spent my whole life trying not to engage in pleasure. And then all of a sudden, because I now say I'm married and I go through a ceremony, I'm just supposed to turn into Cardi B and Megan. And for men, they're like, yeah, I waited. This is what I want to do. And women are like, whoa, I've been locking this shit down for all this time.
Exactly.
I don't know how to bring her out yet. Like, who is she?
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't even met her. So how can I bring her out? And so I think also that pleasure is a huge part of our liberation as Black people.
Yes.
And that we have to be willing to reclaim that which has been used against us. Black girls' bodies maturing so much faster than and the adultification of us. Like when we are comfortable and free in our body as girls, we're told that we're fast,
Yeah.
when really we're just doing what everybody else is doing. You know, we're supposed to be on the floor and opening our legs and turning flips and running with the boys. And when, you know, we're supposed to be doing those things. And so I do believe that sexual liberation is really like the final frontier, because how do you survive in this society with all of this oppression, um, and not have that liberation? And I am a feminist. I feel very strongly in the liberation of women.
Yes.
And so we have to also have that conversation with our men. So this is really also my offering to women,
Yeah.
because I when I had a son, I was like, I want to put an amazing lover in the world.
Okay.
That is what I want.
Yeah.
I want my son to ignite each and every woman that he meets, even if they never have sex. I want her to go away feeling smarter,
Yeah.
feeling more confident,
Yeah.
feeling freer in herself.
Cared
You know,
for.
yes, and or you know, and if there's friends, then we're clear that we're friends. You know, and just having these really free conversations. So I've had a lot of amazing male friendships, and I've had some that really people were confused about what it was. And so I just really, this is what I'm most excited about, and it's also like fully comprehensive. So there's going to be a volume, not a volume two, but like a second edition, because I did leave out, I think, I'm pretty sure I left out drugs, because I want to talk a lot about the use of drugs
And sex?
and alcohol and sex,
Yeah.
and not even as a way to tell people to avoid it, but just like let's
proper or
let's kind of set some pre-boundaries around it. And
Interesting.
you know, because I do talk, because a lot of times when people engage in sex acts and they are under the influence, you know, foul play can happen.
Yep.
And so just kind of setting up some really clear, like, this is what you need to look for. Because the likelihood of them engaging in that way is possible. So I just want to, I feel like I didn't cover that enough. And
I would
so
love to
I want to do a section 2 on that. But
do
yeah.
that section too. Yes.
So a big part of people say, well, why would a mother write a book? And the thing is that Black men adore their mothers.
Yeah.
And mothers, we our sons tell us everything. But then we tell them, go ask your father when it comes to sex. And dad, they talk about basketball. So then he's like, hey, just don't, be out here. Don't get her pregnant. And it's like,
it's
and that's
so
all
much,
they really tell us.
but there's so much to it.
So
You
much
know,
more.
there's a love that comes from you. There's something that is ignited in you. You know, the serotonin, the same type of, chemical releases that goes on within the women happens in the men as well. And I think that's something that even now, because I have 2 sons and I have 1 daughter, and she's always on me about, kind of how I'm on her to be on that kind of straight and narrow, and I kind of nurture my sons a little bit more. But I will be honest in the fact that, like, that talk in itself, I just don't know.
How old are they?
They are 16 and 14.
And so they've already been masturbating. Many of them have already been having sex. So the average age in Missouri is 12 for people to start have both boys and girls. And if you really think about it, that's about 7th grade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's when you start. And the thing about Black people that I think is so interesting is that they're just like, oh, I just hope it's not happening. And I'm like, what were you doing in the 7th grade?
Right.
Like, what were you doing in the 8th and the 9th grade? Right.
Something, right?
I was talking to some of my Christian friends, and they were talking about like the lock-in was like the club, and I just was cracking up laughing.
Well, for real
But
though.
they were like, that was a turn up. You went to the lock-in because you got to finger people. And I was like, but we're still not having these conversations, right?
Very much so.
And so one of the things that I really try to demystify is that sex is something other than really, really natural.
Yeah.
And I've raised both of my children. I have a son and a daughter and a nephew. That sex is a normal part of life. So I don't hide things that are around sex. I don't hide condoms or hide sex toys.
Okay, so when a sex scene came
towels.
on the TV after
We talk about it.
You didn't cover their eyes.
And I
watch that.
No, I say, wow, look, isn't that beautiful? And,
yeah.
Like my daughter and I watched we had 50 Shades of Grey night, and we just kind of talked a lot about like what it is to be in that lifestyle, and
Mm-hmm.
like how would you see yourself? Do you see yourself as submissive or
Okay,
dominant or
you're
somewhere
dominant,
between?
right.
Because when you demystify it,
Yeah.
It's not
they're already
it's-
being bombarded
yeah,
with it, right?
Right.
So the book is full of exercises to talk at the end of every section. So one of the things I didn't do is number it, which I know probably seems a little bizarre. There's 4 sections, but I didn't do chapters because
Mhm.
chapters intimidate men. When they think that they get to chapter 31, they're like, whoo, chapter 31.
Okay.
But if you just keep having these little sections, these little turns, and I'm asking questions, like things like even asking men,
The
yeah,
power
like,
of the pussy. I'm looking at the
Yeah.
chapter right now.
yeah, so this idea that pussy is conquerable, it's
Mhm.
not,
It's
right?
not.
And
Okay.
it's like, let's talk about what it means, to bang. What does it mean to make love? And knowing when to flow in that rhythm, asking, but then don't be an over asker.
Oh,
Is it good?
what was that?
Yes,
What was
that
it?
irritates me.
That's
Yeah.
why you
the
exhale,
most
wasn't it?
irritating thing in the world. Listen, men, I promise you, it's irritating because if it wasn't good, we gonna find a way to let you know.
And it's like sometimes that really isn't what it's about. Sometimes
Right.
it's about a woman may be like, it just feels good to exchange energy.
Yes.
I'm not on the track.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I always say I can bust a nut in 30 seconds by
Mhm.
myself. So you ask me, did you come yet? Did you come yet?
Right.
It's like I'm just trying to enjoy your
The
essence. I'm
experience,
not
yes.
I'm not on the trot to the
Love
orgasm.
it.
And I talk about that too, like not having
I love
orgasm
it.
based intimacy,
Yeah.
but having intimacy based intimacy.
Mhm.
How to be a lover with someone you don't love. So I really
Ooh, yeah.
try to
Oh wow. See?
demystify this idea that women can be tiered.
Yeah.
Oh, she's marriage material, so I cannot engage in break your back
XYZ,
sex because
Uh-huh.
she's marriage material. So the idea of like, no, you get a full person and she can have a gutter side, she can have a easy side, she can have a cry side, she can have a lover side, and every woman is a whole woman.
Mhm.
Every woman deserves respect, consent,
Yes.
and beautiful lovemaking. You don't get to decide who gets that because it's really you that's tiered. It's not her.
It's
Mhm.
definitely-
And so I have a real problem with people, oh, well, she's hood. So she still has feelings. She
Mhm.
still has a family.
Mhm.
She has emotion. Like, so what? That's what she was raised in. That's what she grew up in. Or if you're someone who is like, I was really nerdy and I love books and stuff. And then when and then they get their feelings hurt, and they're like, oh, I didn't know it was going down. Like, well, I mean, you put that box on me.
Yeah.
I didn't. Like, I can still be a nerd and
Yeah.
have you in a fetal position afterwards. Like, you know what I mean? And,
Sucking your thumb.
right. And just because someone is hood doesn't mean they ready to do a
Do
Cardi B
even
video.
more,
Like,
yeah.
no, they may need tender love and
Yeah.
healing and all that kind of stuff. So I just talk about knowing what to ask for, asking for the cues, and then some really. So my mom said this book is for lovers. She's like, this is not just a book for straight people. This is really a book for lovers,
Mhm.
for people to engage. So I've had families bring me in to talk with their young people about it. I've had groups because families need to all be on the same page. So
Yeah.
if you've got cousins and aunties in this, and you bring me together and we talk about it, and they just have a session where the kids can ask me anything.
Mhm.
And I'm going to answer their question from a mother standpoint,
Mhm.
which I've never tried to teach my children to avoid sex, ever.
Yeah.
I've tried to teach them to be responsible, to understand how powerful and how beautiful it is, and then say, let that lead your decision.
Yeah.
You don't lose your virginity, you share
You
sexual
share,
experiences
okay.
with people. Because you don't hand over anything. Your sexuality and your sensuality is all yours.
All yours.
Nobody can take that
Yeah.
from you. If you've
I
been
love
raped, you can reclaim
Claim
it.
that.
You don't have
Yes.
to be caught in the cycle. And the only way we can really get there is by normalizing the conversation about it, right?
Mhm.
So, being able to talk about why, I say in the book, raw dog sex feels amazing.
Yes, it is.
It's amazing, but it's a gift of monogamy.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
okay,
because it is a lot more dangerous.
Then
You know,
it's
when
more
you want to do it
protection.
casually,
Mhm.
but it's very addictive.
Mhm.
You know, that needs to be said.
Somebody need to say it. Cause y'all, this
It's so
is crazy.
different.
I
It's so
literally,
different.
I had. Let me not talk about
It's very interesting to me. This whole thing is very interesting to me because I was raised in the Christian household.
Oh yeah.
So all of what you're talking about, it all went against what I learned when I was younger. So now I have kids, and now they're older in the teenage ages, and I know that they've been doing little things here and there,
Yeah.
and it's hard for me to communicate with them that
Right.
type of.
Yeah.
It's really hard, and I'm trying to get out of that shell that I learned from
Right.
back then. I'm trying to be more opening and more loving and more caring and tell them that sex isn't so much of a bad thing. It's not because we get that it's a sin, it's a sin, it's a sin, it's a sin. You can't do it till you get married. You can't do it till you
But
get
like,
married.
what if we taught our children to just care for each other?
Mm-hmm.
And because the thing is that sex is the go-to because we haven't taught intimacy.
Yeah, very.
And I have talked to so many young men who are like, I just don't want to do it yet.
Yeah.
But because I'm the star football player, everybody thinks I'm supposed to be ready.
Yeah,
I'm the quarterback. I'm 6'4" and I'm 280, and now that means that I'm supposed to want to have sex with everybody. And they're like, I just kind of want to hold hands. Or so also giving people the permission to own their bodies, because all of us want different things at different times. And teaching your children to really express what they do and don't like in a way that is like very clear, and then have it be honored.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's kind of like, I don't like pineapples, Mom. Okay, I will not serve pineapples. When you go to a party, you can say, I don't like pineapples. You get to say that, and you get to have it honored. So when it comes to these major decisions, like sex, I can say, I don't want to have sex, but I do want you to hold me. Imagine how powerful that is to be able to tell a boy or a girl up front, and for the boy to be able to say, okay, I receive that. Like, this doesn't have it, you want to be held.
Don't push me.
Don't
or
push
talk
me. And then
me
for
into
him,
it, or
he
make
can
me
say,
feel less of a
right.
person.
And he can say, I'll cuddle, but we got to keep our clothes on.
Yeah.
Because that is too much for me. So it's two ways where people can say, okay, I can't do that. I can do this.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I'll say if I'm with my lover and I've had a rough day, and I'll be like, I just need nurturing. I just want you to rub my feet. And that's the other thing in the book is like you love without the intention of getting pussy.
Yes.
Become a lover, because women will always have your back. They will respect you. You will have a friend for life. If you really show up for what women need. And that's really the conversation that we're trying to shift, because men get something from that too.
Yeah.
You don't really want somebody calling your phone at 3:00 in the morning, cursing you out, slashing your tires.
Exactly.
All that is
we don't want that
that's
drama.
miscommunication.
Oh,
is what it is. I thought I could handle this, but I really can't.
Yeah.
I could only handle this.
Okay.
Exactly.
So and I think too, like just preparing space, like teaching boys, change your sheets,
Yes.
wash your nuts, be
Yes.
careful with the soap, exfoliate your skin, moisturize your booty, get a pedicure, trim your nails. See, these are things that
Trim
because
your pubic hairs.
yes,
Like,
and have a discussion about that, right?
Yes.
So for me, I don't have a preference. So I'm like, hey, how do you like my cooch? Depending on who my lover is, because I don't have a preference.
Yeah.
I can go really low, I can keep a little, so it
Okay.
doesn't matter to me. So I'm gonna be like, well, what do you like? Now they don't own it, but since I don't have a preference, I can say, well, I can go either way. Men understanding if they're gonna have a lot, they need to shampoo it, not just put it in soap. Like, why we trim, exfoliating your penis, all these things that women can maybe not necessarily express, but that they deeply appreciate.
I didn't
I didn't know you can exfoliate your penis. Is that you can do that?
Oh yeah. and it's amazing.
With regular exfoliating stuff, or you have to use
Well,
special stuff?
because men just have outer skin. As long as they're avoiding the tip,
Mhm.
it's just like regular skin. Of course, you gotta be super gentle, and so you
Yeah.
can make it up with like fine salt, and
Yeah.
like ivory. But yeah,
I learned something.
yeah,
Yes.
and when you do that, like when
Lord.
I've even done that, in a love ritual, a bathing ritual, they're always like, "Wow!" I'm like, "Yeah, you too."
You guys learned something when the price sticks to them forever.
Yeah, they like, look at this thing. Like, it's amazing. Men stay fascinated with their
Okay.
penises. They
Yes,
act like it's
they
new
really
every day.
do.
Like every day they're like, "Oh, did you
I
see this?"
tried
And I'm
it,
like,
you
"Did
know.
something happen?"
Hilarious.
I'm like, "Did something happen the night before?" Like,
So
yeah,
you
it's
are just so amazing, and what you like. You talked about honing your craft. So there is an open mic night coming
Yes.
up April the 29th, and you'll be hosting.
I will be hosting.
What do you bring to the atmosphere when you're hosting?
I think that I can be a little funny.
Yes,
sometimes.
you can.
Yeah.
And you have a super calming voice. Your voice is so calming.
Which probably people wouldn't think would work well with being a host,
Right.
but it actually does.
Mhm.
I think I have the ability to make people feel comfortable sharing.
Mhm.
I think people forget how incredibly brave you have to be to come
Man.
stand up
Yes.
in front of people. So I just try to create energy and atmosphere that all are welcomed, and that that expression is important. I try to listen and pull out things that stood out, and like, thank you for that. I try to be genuine and encouraging, and really, I am a lover, y'all. So I try to create a space of love wherever I go. And I think that's what I think I bring as a host is a little bit of humor. I can be a little edgy, and I can be supportive,
Yeah.
I like to connect with the crowd,
Mhm.
probably doing a couple of goofy things, just stuff like that. So
Love it.
And
love
that's April 29th at the Uptown Theater,
Yes.
8 p.m. to 12,
it. Mellow Soul.
3700 Broadway Boulevard. And you can get tickets at the door.
yes, you can get
Okay.
tickets at the door. For performers, it's free as long as the list is open, and the list has been filling up. So all are welcome, like poets, MCs, hip hop artists, and singers, yes. And so the funny thing is that, I love hosting, but I absolutely hate open mics. Because I feel like, people are like in their poem, like the tree,
Yeah.
the clouds. And everybody's like, girl, and then, and it's like, and then somebody's like, I'd rather be with you. And it's like, then somebody's like, I was molested by my preacher. It's just so fun. Yes, it's like, woo, we were there. Oh, we were there. Oh, we were there. So it drives me crazy. I like to have the poetry first,
Yes.
and then move into the music, but that's just me.
It
And
makes sense.
then I like to end with the hip hop.
Okay.
That's how I like to do it. But it's not my event, so I will be making it do what it do. And I am going to be there and execute to the best of my ability. So
Will you be dropping some poetry there as well?
I thought about that, and I was like, I have been writing so much, and editing. I have been editing. Last year I edited 10 books for other writers, and
Awesome.
that's a lot. So yeah, that's like reading the same book 3 times. And
Mercy.
I'm working with 4 different writers right now. So I just haven't felt like I've had a poem in me. I mean, between the gallery, Black Space, Black Art, my daughter's senior year. I'm also creating a non-for-profit, and so I just have had. So I'm saying that to say, the other night I went out and listened to music, and I did write while I was listening to music. It just felt good because I didn't have anything else in my hand.
Yeah, at the time.
I was like, oh, it's just me liquor music. So that was nice. But I think because it's the end of National Poetry Month, and I do think that it would be important to share some work. So I'll come prepared to share a little bit of work. I'll have a poem or two. It's not about me, but I'll definitely share something.
Drop them skills.
You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I haven't like performed in a while. I have a performance in Seattle, Washington. It's a virtual performance through the Fry Museum, but I've been doing a lot more literary. Currently, my brother and I, my baby brother, and I are working on like a soul meditation album.
Beautiful.
So I want to do
That
like
is dope.
yeah, so like body recovery,
Mhm.
and just meditations for Black people.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of stuff out there now, which I'm super excited about. But
Right,
I've
that
been
we've
working.
never had before, right? Right.
We haven't had it in mass, right? It's like if you weren't
Yeah.
a part of that community,
Yeah,
you didn't
You
have
wouldn't know that
access
it
to it.
existed.
So
definitely.
yeah, so I'm excited to do that. But he and his wife just purchased a house, so you know they got like 37 kids. So
Yeah.
we might be 4 years from now. But I'm still working on a meditation album with my brother.
We just love talking to you. You have so much knowledge about so much stuff, and you do a lot of things. I mean,
Right.
the poetry, the writing, the ghost writing, life
The
coaching,
gallery.
the
Oh my God,
gallery.
that's amazing.
Goodness gracious. Well, tell us where we can see and find out about you everywhere, all through the board. Your website?
Yes. So so I had an amazing brand guru kind of help me out. So I have an umbrella website, which is natasharia.com. And then you can click on all the different tabs. So you can do blackspaceblackward.com and you'll get there.
Yes.
But yeah, so it's all under Natasha Ria. You'll find Black Space Black Art, you'll find the gallery, you'll find the coaching. I also do intuitive work and I knit as well. So it was kind of crazy. But this season I actually knit and sewed like almost 70 scarves. So
Really?
yeah, it's like a whole. I've been doing that for like 6 years now, and
Beautiful.
you know, I do voiceover work and
Girl, that
everything.
is so.
I know it's so crazy. It's so
I
crazy.
love it.
But
I
this
love
year
it.
I hired an assistant. I had to
Yeah.
bite the bullet because I was drowning,
Yeah.
and there wasn't really anything I wanted to give up. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it wasn't like, girl, get that off your plate. And it's,
Mhm.
no, but I am going to be teaching actually this fall. Fingers crossed, if enough students enroll, I'll be teaching the writing seminar at the Kansas City Art Institute. Yeah,
That's
and I
so
sit on the institutional review board at Children's Mercy Hospital, and I'm on the board of the Chili Foundation as well. So it's
You got it.
dumb,
You
but I
got
always make time to have sex.
it.
So
Yes.
that is what I want people to know.
Okay, she said if you didn't know, get nothing else from this.
Please.
I always make time to pray,
Okay.
and I always make time to have sex. And sometimes I'm doing them together, which is really amazing.
That's awesome.
Um,
That is awesome.
I wish I created more time to cook, but no.
Yeah, that's not my creative space right there.
Either, you know?
I really don't like it, but I really love amazing food.
Yeah.
But Bonafide G is an amazing chef, and he can hook you up, and he does. And I had to learn how to relinquish some things and tell myself, like, you can get a housekeeper, and you can have an assistant, and you can have a chef,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to be bougie.
Right.
It's literally you're gonna spend your money anyway. So are you gonna spend your money eating good food, or are you gonna keep eating tuna out of the package? You know what I mean? Like, what are you gonna do? So you might as well. It's for the same price.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Because I have to create it so in me. I have a play that's waiting. I have a follow-up to my novel.
Oh goodness.
So those are all things that have kind of been in the works. But being busy as a mom, a single mom, my son and my daughter both graduate this year.
Congratulations.
Oh,
I know, one from
yeah.
high school, one from college. 2
Oh,
days
look
apart.
at the Lord.
2 days apart, and so my son will
And
be
she's
settling
beautiful.
on the East Coast, and he is an entrepreneur as well, and so it's just been it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Work,
I'm
work,
actually
work.
interested in looking into maybe getting you to talk to my kids about all that. I have 18-year-old. She's about to graduate as well, and she wants to go to the art institute as well. And she's a very creative person, and I don't know. She just doesn't have that motivation. She doesn't have that like her mom does, but
the traditional motivation.
Yeah.
Right.
And so maybe I'm hoping that maybe you can even, talk to her about that. Just also the sexual stuff too.
Yeah.
Talk to her about that part.
Yeah, I really, 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 really love life coaching. I've been doing it for many years, but during the pandemic, I actually had the time to get certified. So I just said, I'm gonna go ahead and do the certification because some people need that. Like they're like, is she really you know, but now they're like, oh, she's a certified life coach, but like, you know, so that helps in that sense, but it really, I'm still doing the same coaching. And I really love the school that I attended. So the Institute was great, but, you know, I love kind of communicating with families and talking about that, talking about, you know, really success, because that looks very different for everybody. And so sometimes we are measuring our children based on society and not really who they are. And so if you have a child who is an artist, they are already experiencing the world very differently than other people.
Yes.
So the institution of school was very easy for my son because it met his personality.
Yeah.
But my daughter needs other things, you know, and so I had to be very intentional about what school looked like for her and advocating for her. And, you know, she is, she went today to her first nursing home and she said, I wiped 2 older people's butts and I fed a woman and this, and this. And I'm like, you're 17. And that level of emotional maturity, there is no measure of that in school.
Yeah.
And they don't honor it.
Very,
See what I'm saying? And so I had to be so protective of that when she was going through school. And I, you know, she would say things like, you know, nobody likes me. And I'm like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
And then she's like, I do. She's like, I want people to like me. And I had to go, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how this can look for you.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like you think about that, it's like we're always this kind of very capitalistic view and things like that.
Success.
Yeah. And sometimes success is like, did you enjoy a piece of fruit? Or were you riding down the street 30 miles an hour in and out of traffic on the phone? Did you remember that you ate?
Yeah.
What is success? And so, you know, slow isn't bad. You know what I mean? It's like, what about that makes her intentional? And so what she does with her time is a good use of it. You know, if she's happy moving slow and she's not asking for things that are fast, that she enjoys moving slow, how do we honor that? Right?
Ooh, that's a good way to look at
I just need to figure out
a happy medium at least.
Because you actually don't need to figure it out. She's actually showing you. And I think that's a big part of parenting that we miss. We think we have to have the answers. But really, if we teach our children very early to trust their gut, they'll tell us.
Yeah.
You know, I was a very traditional, go to school, 4.0, do all this. And my daughter was like, you know what? I'm tired of school. I want to get my CNA. And I was like, no! Votech? That's for those kids. Right? All this crap, right? And it's just crap. And she was like, Mom, this is what I want to do. She's been trying to get in the hospital since she was 7 years old to care for people, you know, and she has flourished in this program. And I always would tell her, because I would touch her hands, I'm like, you are a healer. You know, I would feel her hands. I was like, honey, these are healing hands. And she knows how to be present in grief, in childbirth, in death. This is a 17-year-old.
Right.
So, and I tell her, I said, honey, your report card, it just, I said, you're an equal opportunity alphabet lover. I said, you like to represent all the letters.
That's also
But the thing is that if you know your narrative, that's not the only definition of you. Just like my son, who is very smart traditionally, that's not all of who he is.
Right.
He has an artistic side, right? And he is very free and expressive. And so he gets in the classroom and people are like, well, what are you doing here? This is for the nerds. And he's like, yeah, I'm a nerd, but I also have swag.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean? So it's like just that. Like, so just kind of even allowing. Because one thing you have to ask yourself is this about me looking good? Or is this about her? Am I worried about what people are going to say about me as a parent?
Right.
Or is this my idea of what success is? Or am I putting my crap on her? I'm not saying you are doing
No, but that
things.
is something that's being think about. You have to check yourself before you go into that situation. Because Lord knows I don't want her to be anything like, she don't have to be like me or anything that I've done in the past or whatnot. I want her to be what she wants to be.
And she might still be discovering that.
Yeah.
Just because she's graduating high school doesn't mean she knows. Maybe she needs 3 years before she knows. But once she figures it out, it's going to fly. But, you know, she just maybe needs some time to discover. She may not know yet. You know, and my son was on the fast track. He called me. I already saw it in the meditation. And he was like, hey, I need to talk to you. And I was like, oh God. And he was like, I'm going to sit out a semester. I was like, no. And he says, well, Mom, I've already decided. And I said, okay. And I said, can I share my fears? And can I share my concern? Because those are two different things. Concern is real. How are you going to pay your rent? What's going on with your scholarship? Right? Fear is what they call false evidence appearing real. Are you going to go back?
Exactly.
I don't think you're going to do this. I don't think
you're going to ever make anything.
Right.
Yourself,
And so
right? Yeah.
he already knew that because we started having these conversations prompt that. When you get to really start talking about pleasure and intimacy and what you deeply desire, that central part of yourself, people will open up to you. And it's also important for your kids to know what you like.
Yeah.
Right? So I have a joke with my kids called the Kwanzaa gift. Whenever I see a fine man, I be like, ooh, that's my Kwanzaa gift.
Yeah.
Right? Because your Kwanzaa's supposed to have a homemade gift, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, then my Kwanzaa gift. So Nite was like, look at my stepdaddy. She knows what I like. My son knows what I like. It's good for children to know, which, they should be able to tell. And when mom and mom or mom and dad or dad and dad are feeling sexy, they should know. They're like, oh, that's my exit.
Okay.
They should be able to feel when pleasure is happening, right? When it's time for pleasure. Because I create that energy. And my son will be like, don't go, Mom, don't go to your mom's room. So that's all of that is very real.
This is very good information. And everybody out there,
she's
please
so
check her
all
out,
okay.
y'all.
She's so all
Mama
encompassing.
Sutra and all of her other books. Where can they find those?
Yeah, so they're on my website at natasharia.com. So I always encourage people to buy directly from the artist. Obviously, that's bigger, but they're also on Amazon. Mama Sutra's at Birdie's. I have things at Wise Blood. Also at my gallery, I carry my own books.
Okay.
As well. So so it's a little bit of everywhere.
Mama Sutra, y'all. This is awesome. This goes into more than just the birds and the bees. The regular 30-minute conversation you had with your parents. This will be far more.
Yeah, I had a mom tell me, I thought this book was for my son, but it's actually for me and my husband.
Yeah. Like as I'm looking at it, I so can see that as well.
I can see that too. Definitely.
Thank you so much for coming by and visiting us. We finally got you through, and I'm so excited.
Always in divine time.
She got all the knowledge. Do you hear me?
I want to talk more sex.
I know.
We'll do that. We have to bring you back on the show.
For sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for opening up. Like you didn't have to do that on here.
I wasn't trying to, girl, but I got some stuff going on right now. I'm trying to figure out how to work out with this kid.
Yeah.
I really honor that. So I want to say thank you for doing that live. That wasn't easy at all.
Thank you. One more time, y'all. Mellow Soul open mic night, April 29th at the Uptown Theater. It's from 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. If you do some poetry, if you sing, you rap, all that, it is invited.
All people. We want all people there.
Everybody.
We want it to feel Afrofuturistic.
Yes.
We want you, if you're gay, if you're straight, if you're white, if you're black. This is about consciousness and about the beauty of Black people in the now and in the future.
Yes.
So definitely come on out.
And the link, if you don't want to pay at the door, you want to sign up a little sooner. The link is on our Nite Hype page on Facebook.
And we're Nite Hype Show across the board.
All across the board. Instagram, Facebook. About it.
That's about it.
Twitter.
Right. And so there's another one of books. Thank you guys for tuning in. We bid you adieu.
All right. Have a good one, y'all. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
42 minutes.
You made that so easy.
That was easy.
Oh my god.
Dang, I want to talk more about sex, man. I was all into my own
Thank
stuff,
you.
but it was good though. I wanted to learn more things too.
Okay.
For sure.
Next time.
Right.